Ed, all yours.
All right, all right. So, again, we do not want to punish those on time for those who are stragglers. You know, if you are not early, you are late. I heard that 3,750 times, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, that cabin experience I told you all about last week. Um, Dr. Ken Markham drilled that into us. Oh my gosh, you did not want to not be early for one of the sessions. And if you're not early, you are late. You got an 82-year-old guy up there who's got probably more energy than all 19 of us in the crowd, and you listen to him. But we only had like one or two stragglers, so I may adapt some things from him, but we'll see. I guess I have to wait until I'm 80 to have that kind of respect. Anyway, if you're not early, you're late. I like that. All right. So anyway, well, listen, we're going to continue today. I have a guest here, and I am so serious about this. We're talking about radical success. I said, I've got to go get a psychotherapist. You know, some of you, I haven't yet got you over that mark. I want to get you over. So I said, I know what I need. I need a psychotherapist. And next week, we're going to have someone who's a specialist in a hypnotist, but also someone who has been counseling, and one of my personal counselors. Mark has been my personal counselor. I've taken this course that we're going to be talking about today, the living course. It literally saved my life 7 years ago now. What is it? 7 years ago. And he'll tell you about my story a little bit. And then Ro, who's the hypnotist, she's on here. I just saw her pop in. There she is. Hey, Ro. She'll be with us next week as our guest. So I am serious about this. So let me just go over the radical success, and then why we have to be radical, just as a reminder. Let me share my screen first. That's important. Otherwise, I'll be talking and you won't be seeing. And none of you told me last week when I did that. So, all right. So let's go here. And, this is the subject that we started last week, radical success and happiness. Last week, we had 10 keys and habits to change your life and put your business on autopilot. So many people they misunderstand this whole concept of, autopilot or The Secret or put it out there or all those kinds of things. And it's all from an inside out job, which that we've been talking about for 2.5 years. I really believe that we can ace this test, the autopilot test, and that we can have permanent success, that we're constantly having the power to do it now. All of our prayers are answered. Nature's laws are working for us, free from all forms of negativity and discouragement. And that all these things, you can ace this test. And I really believe in order to do that, though, we really have got to become radical about us. We've got to become radical with self-love. We got to become radical about self-respect. We got to become radical about self-discipline. We got to be radical about everything, because it's time that we do that. And many of you, you want to ace this test, but a lot of times it's because of what you're going to hear from Mark today that's holding us back, and you haven't made that breakthrough yet. And today, Mark is going to give you what's been holding you back, and I'm really looking forward to what he's going to be sharing with you. It's incredible. And we know it's not the 3 P's in life that bring satisfaction to anyone: power, position, or possessions, but it's the power of presence. And it's about making your dreams come true, of a life that you dream about. So we've got to get radical. I'm just going to mention these stats one more time to kind of enforce you, to force you saying, wait a minute, I better pay attention. I don't want to fall in these statistics that Fred shares. We've got to become radical. 1 in 2 women will develop, and 1 in 3 men will develop cancer. And a lot of this is from those C words we talked about, the complacency and all that kind of stuff. And we've got to get to a point where we're living our life by design and not default from the programming and the belief systems of the MFTP, mother, father, teachers, preachers, right? 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men in the U.S. will develop cancer. And the scientists have proven a lot of it is not genetics, but it's what our programming is. Nearly half, or we can even fix our genetics. We can even fix our genetics, by reprogramming. Nearly half of all US adults have some type of cardiovascular disease. Obesity, 42%. Number 2 cause of premature death, just behind smoking. 22.9% of adults only 22.9 adults meet federal physical activity guidelines. 13.5 in Mississippi with a high of 31% in Colorado. 50% divorce rate. 50% divorce rate, and the effects that have on children. Children between the age of 15 and 19, suicide, the second leading cause of death, and leading cause of death between 14 and 15-year-olds. And we know that the 3 Ps are not the answer. And then if we want to just take that to the financial, 70% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The average American has $90,000 in debt. Only 40% can cover 3 months of expenses. 50% of those difficulty paying for a $400 emergency expense. 19% of adults not being able to pay the expense at all. Now, folks, this is not meant to put you into the sad mode, depressed mode, this mode, that, and a negative mode. This is meant to wake us up that we have got to be radical about self-development. You know, my favorite philosopher, and my philosophy is the unexamined life is not worth living. So today, I brought Dr. Mark Levinsky here. That has been a wonderful role model in my life, great counselor, great mentor, great everything. In the course that we're going to be talking about, the living course or the real courses. But Mark, you take it from here, and welcome. Thank you so much for taking your time and coming to share with the group and help us become radical, my friend. Yep, you're muted. You're muted, Mark.
All right. So again, thank you, Fred, and thank you for having me, and thank you all for accepting me this morning. Like Fred said, I'm a psychotherapist. I'm also a life coach and an instructor for a personal development program. It's an experiential weekend workshop with a lot of active work, and I just believe in activity as the way to kind of break through barriers. So the weekend's all about that. But today I wanted to talk about, beliefs and how beliefs are created and how they hold us back. And I'll share some personal examples, and hope they all apply to you and help you in your journey. Believe it or not, for any one of us who believes that we are done with the past is not done with us. We're never done from the past. We're never done from childhood events and teenage, early adult events. It is important for us to examine those events and look at how we created beliefs about ourselves, about others, about the world, because our beliefs is what keeps us from our maximum potential. So belief systems have to do with any underperforming is all about belief. Any ceiling that we feel like we can't get past a certain point is about a belief system. And any success of sabotage is about a belief system. And so I have a couple of diagrams. I know, Fred, on your end, if you could put up the circle of belief.
All right, I'll do that. And then Mark, repeat that again, please. That's powerful about the past. You might think,
Yeah.
Say that quote one more time.
Yeah, so any of us who believe that we are not done with our past is not done with us.
Wow, our past is not done with us.
Yes.
What is that new, man? I didn't hear that the 5, 6, 7, 8 times you've been. Our past is not done with us.
I kind of came up with that last night. Yeah, it kind of sums up, basically how from our past events have a huge impact on us, on our beliefs. And again, it's important to examine them and see how they hold us back. Wow. So we got what's called the circle of belief here that Fred just put up. And in order for a belief to develop, it starts with an event, and typically a childhood event. And from that event, we have a feeling. And the main feelings we talk about are anger, sadness, fear, and shame. And from that feeling, believe it or not, we make a decision. No matter how young we are, we make a decision based on that. And whether it be a decision about ourselves, about others, about the world. And that decision, then we develop a belief that supports that decision. And again, if we don't examine it and challenge it, that belief will, through our adult life, be recreated. We will expect that belief to manifest in our world, and we'll recreate it over and over again. There's good beliefs, but we want to talk about beliefs that kind of, again, limit us. So an example of mine is my event was I had what's called a maturation lag. So between 2nd and 4th grade, I was a slow learner, basically. They thought I had dyslexia. It wasn't dyslexia, but I was a slow learner. I was a good 2, possibly 3 years behind my students, my fellow students, in terms of learning. And as a result of that, I felt shame, which is not good enough. And I felt fear that no matter what, I will not be able to be a part of this group or be in line with others. So despite those feelings, I made a decision. And my decision was, I'm going to work past this. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get past this. And the way that decision looked was, I just had to work harder. For every probably hour, another student studied, I studied 4 hours. My mother was very instrumental in my learning process. She sat down with me and created lessons for me, and it was pretty much nonstop learning. So my belief was I have to work harder than others in order to keep up. And then that certainly showed up and recreated in my life in many ways. And I'll share more about that many ways in a second, because I do want to show what gives the fuel to our circle of beliefs. So Fred, if you could put up the victim triangle. Thank you. So this is what's called the drama triangle. It's also called the victim triangle. And this is what fuels our belief systems. This is what we kind of go through life. Imagine this triangle being a scanner, kind of look throughout the day, looking for evidence to support our belief system. It's negative energy. It's drama energy. And so there's 3 parts to it. There's 3 roles, and we just have to play one of these roles in order to be on the victim triangle. The first one is the victim, and that's on the bottom because the other 2 fall down into victimhood. But victim is, why me, woe is me, why does this always happen to me? Feeling life is in control, we're not in control. That's what victim is. And then a persecutor is that part of us that wants to punish, get back, get even. And then there's the rescuer. And the rescuer is usually a person we go to feel sorry for me. It's like, look at what's happening to me, feel sorry for me. And they're the ones that kind of like pour you, why is this happening to you? It feels good, it feels supportive, but actually it's enabling, it's dangerous, it's keeping us stuck in our victimhood. So I wanted to share that too, because the example I want to give about how the circle of belief showed up and how I became victim to it happened actually in the course room. It happened a while ago. I mean, it's happened since in different ways, but I want to kind of share this particular one because I think it's a good example of how I was showing up in the time and the decisions I was making and what I needed to do to break free from that moment. So keep in mind, again, I'm coming from a place of I'm a slow learner. I don't get it. Other people get things before me. And by the way, what I didn't share about a maturation lag is maturation lags disappear. So it's something I grew out of. Probably after fourth grade, I grew out of it. But despite growing out of it, I was already in habits to where I was still doing the things that I was doing when I no longer needed to do it. So I was still working harder, studying harder when I didn't need to. So when the reason for it went away, that belief still stuck with me despite that. So my example was, so the living course is, again, a weekend course. It's experiential. I took it myself in 2011. It was a life-changing course for me. It was probably also one of the most challenging things that I did. And it brought up a lot of stuff for me. It brought up front and center, it brought up my belief system and my struggles. So I took the course, and when you take the course, you get to come back to assist. And what assisting means is you come back for free and you re-experience the course and you support students and continue your growth. So I'm coming back as an assistant, and there's this row of chairs by the instructors, and this row of chairs are for therapists. And so I'm in the crowd, and I want to be in these rows of chairs by the instructors. And so I'm going to assist course after course after course. And each time, like, I'm inching up closer to these chairs, hoping that I will be invited, hoping that I will be basically rescued. I wanted somebody to rescue me, say, hey, Mark, you're a therapist, come up front, you belong here. That wasn't happening, and I was going into total victim about it. See, again, here I am, I don't belong, I'm behind, other people get to be up there, what more do I need to do for this? The whole circle of belief is playing out. I went into persecution with the leader of the company. Well, I don't want to be a part of her organization anyway. I kind of was judging her. I was angry. That was my persecution. And again, the rescuer was the part of me that, I was talking to other therapists about this. Why am I not being invited up? What's wrong? And no one was rescuing me, which was actually really a good thing. It was probably like the fourth or fifth time that I came to assist. It just hit me. There was an empty chair up front, and there was like this, just go up there and take it. That's what hit me. It was a decision I made. Just go up there. There's an empty chair, sit in it, do what you do. If you're asked to leave, you'll leave. And so it was a very scary but empowering moment to where I just kind of took what I wanted rather than waiting for it to come to me, which never would have happened. I took what I wanted. And that was a big part of kind of breaking through that at that time. So for me, it took that action, it took that decision, it took that courage to kind of go up there and sit down, and as a result, it changed some of the ways how I saw myself, how I saw other people seeing myself, and that was just my process. It still happens from time to time. The way off the victim triangle, just to let you know, especially because it's hard to change our beliefs if we are stuck in victim. So we have to change the energy first to slow the energy in order to look at the belief. Is the way off the victim triangle is making a choice. And that's kind of what I did. That's what I did when I went up to sit in that row. I made a choice. I made a decision. So it's a powerful choice. that is the way we get off the triangle. And with that, the victim now becomes what's called a creator. So I was no longer a victim to the situation, but I was a creator to what I wanted, to that next step. The persecutor, the way out of persecution is it's called the challenger. And the challenger is either ourselves or somebody else in our life that can challenge, us and hold us accountable and keep us accountable. And the rescuer becomes a coach. That's the role on the opposite side of the victim triangle. So the coach is somebody who doesn't enable, but does coach and gives encouragement and support. And so that's the way off of that. So that's the example I wanted to share. So once we stop the victim and the energy of it, going back to the belief, again, since it comes from a young age, it's learning to be the voice that we needed back then. Whether it be the voice of our father, the voice of our mother, it's learning to become that voice for that age that we were in that developed the belief system. So everything we needed back then at that time of struggle to help us see who we really are despite what was happening, that is the way we kind of heal ourselves and change our belief systems about it. So I don't know, Fred, do you have questions? Or
Mark, repeat that again. The persecutor, the positive side of the persecutor.
Yeah.
In order to heal themselves, what do they become?
So the persecutor becomes a challenger.
Challenger, okay.
And again, the challenger is that person that doesn't get back, doesn't get even, but the challenger is holds us accountable. Says, wait a minute, this is the fifth time this happened with somebody in our life this week. It's no longer about others. What is it about us that's creating this? That's a challenger. It keeps us accountable.
In other words, you start, instead of feeling persecuted, you start challenging yourself.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
And then the victim becomes
a creator. The victim becomes a creator. So again, we're not victim to our life, but we get to create the life we want. And then the rescuer becomes a coach. So somebody who doesn't enable, but supports and encourages and pushes.
Yeah, one, and again, I don't know how many times, let's see, I did the 1, 2, 3, because as Mark said, once you go to the main course, you then volunteer if you like, and you become what they call an angel. You have anywhere from 18 people to 24 people that are participants, and there's usually 2 or 3 times that amount of angels there and helpers to help the other people get through all these things and understand. It was the most incredible, most unbelievable, and it came at a time in my life that was really, really ugly, right? And many of you know my personal story, and not that none of us are our stories at all, it's just our experiences. And the power of this, when you really think about it, is, Dr. Bruce Lipton says every single one of us are nothing but our first 7 years of our life repeated over and over and over again. And I just looked it up. My first TLC, Mark, was 2017. And then there was 4 or 5 after, and then it was the advanced course. And it took a lot of that to get all the way to the point of really understanding deeply some of the stuff. Like, I was a big victim, not only of sexual abuse as a young kid, from 3 years old to 4 years old, but then I had a mother who I didn't even identify that until my advanced course, that I had a mother that was totally guilty of emotional incest, which you'll learn about in the course as well. Which really has and I became, of course, my story was I became a rescuer. But Mark, you said something in the beginning that we kind of just went over pretty quickly, and that was, it's the same effect on all of us. And that is that belief here that once the event happens, that feeling, we don't realize what it is. Then we start making decisions and beliefs. But and you mentioned not good enough. And of course, when you go through that not good enough exercise in the course, which I forget how long it is, that it's about an hour, 2 hours. It's a very powerful experience. I never realized, you see, we may think that this all has negative effects, right? Remember I said that the success in life is not the 3 Ps, possession, powers, position, power, or possessions, right? I had taken all of this stuff and I turned it into everything that, quote, the world would say was very successful. I went from being an 8th grade dropout, a hoodlum as a kid, in and out of reform schools, converted to a belief system of Christianity, raised a family, went to school at night, got my real estate license at 23, raised to the highest levels in the industry that you could possibly get to, management, senior management, executive management, running companies, running my own company for 18 years, building a $5 million real estate portfolio, all in the belief system I wasn't good enough. And I was going to prove to the world how good I really was. And that same belief and being that rescuer and not ever figuring this stuff out is what took, quote, what everyone else would call, quote, success, through the 3 Ps. I had great position, I had great power, and I had great possessions. But it didn't mean anything because I had never overcome those first 7 years of my life until TLC, the living course, understanding.
And it's that sabotage that happened, Fred, when we, then I totally relate with that shame, it almost became a gasoline, a drive for me to achieve. But sabotage, and I'm sure everyone can relate to some form of sabotage. What sabotage is blowing up that good stuff, then losing it. It's because our value, our true value and self-esteem doesn't match what we have in life. So there's a conflict. And if we don't work through that shame and really own our value, we are going to lose those things that we define as success. So that's what sabotage is.
And we do it because we just keep on this cycle of belief.
Exactly.
And until we really, and that's why I'm constantly, and even though I had the term inside out, agent for ever since I was a young sales manager, because I got everyone to personal development and change your brain, change your thinking, but I never went deep. And as you said, I never went into my past, and that my past wasn't done with me. And it wasn't until just 6 years ago that I finally went in and found that little boy that was neglected for all these years and overworked and taking care of everybody else as a rescuer. That was my main thing. And, and we got to take care of ourselves. We got to take care of ourselves. And so anyway, this is powerful stuff, folks. And what's really interesting is that, with the persecutor, you've got to become the challenger and hold yourself accountable. Right. So if you don't have a coach, if you don't have even a dear near friend that's going to help you challenge yourself, you need to get one. And that's why I'm an incessant reader, a YouTuber, meditation the night before I go to bed, meditation in the morning when I get up, because I challenge myself. And those belief systems are still want to arise to the top. And that's where the ego comes in. And then the victim, becoming the creator. You can still create a beautiful life. You can ace this test if you come to realization that you are not your past, right? And that you really truly jump in and deal with this. And then this whole idea of the rescuer becoming the coach. Now, this brings in, and I became also, after the living course, I became a big student of A Course in Miracles. And of course, in Miracles teaches, I can only heal as I heal as I help others heal, and vice versa. It's a different type of cycle. So that's where that rescuer becomes a healer, right? And so now you're on a positive cycle. And that's when you will experience a life. Now, am I back to where my financial position was? Nope, not yet. Am I back to where I was in my marital bliss? No, I'm divorced. Am I back to having all 4 of my children? No, one is dead. Am I back to my big house on the Gulf of Mexico, right across the street from the Gulf of Mexico in Clearwater, Florida, that I was about 118 steps away from the Gulf of Mexico to put my toe in it? Nope. I'm in a rental in a condo on a beach. But folks, my life has never been better. Never been better because I finally know that little boy, and I'm taking care of that little boy, and not the kind of way that sometimes we think about, but really truly going inside and realizing nothing ever had an effect on the value I got here with. The way that my creator created me, that value is never changed as we go.
You know, if you think about it, Fred, when we're children, I remember as a little boy, like a box was heaven. Having a box, I didn't need a toy necessarily, but the box a toy came in, I remember making forts out of it and just having fun with it. And it's just as we move forward and we start latching onto other things, that becomes our reason for happiness, and we lose our happiness.
Right.
And
Right.
it just sounds like to me like a lot of what you're saying is, and because you mentioned your little boy, you're learning to just have more fun with what you have. Like
Yep.
what you have is you're playing with it.
Right. And you know, it's so powerful when you get to a point of where you go back to the original model. And you all, you know, if you've been with me, and if you're a guest, you know, you can get the slide deck. But you know, when we go back to the original design that we got here with, you know, as I keep telling you, we got off the assembly line this way, but we got programmed this way, you know, and that's what brings that ego in and brings this whole victim try, all the stuff that we're talking about. It's the ego soul. And this is what, and that's not real. This is all the illusions. This is all the thermometer. This is not the thermostat. We're talking about getting off of these triangles and really get out of here and change that belief system so your life gets on autopilot, your success gets on autopilot, your happiness, your relationships, and that you are truly living life from the inside out. So, I mean, this is powerful stuff. We have, you know, Danielle last week, Mark, I was telling you, Danielle and Brian Schachtner, I mentioned.
Yeah, I'm here. I did the living course. I have to look at my books and my notes, but I did it, I don't even know, 15 years ago, something like that. And I'll quickly share what I got from it. And I've done so many other high-level personal development courses since, not that, but what I got is that I go into fantasy a lot, and I really because my parents weren't there for me, really. Like, they were there, but they weren't there for me emotionally as a child. So I go into fantasy, and I have difficulty playing along with societal rules and games and bosses at work and things like that. So I do rebel against the norms, and I go into fantasy, and I think that the fantasy is real, and that's where I come into problems with other humans. So that's one of the main things I got.
You know what, Danielle, that, and again, as A Course in Miracles teaches, that's all the illusionary stuff. You're living in an illusionary world, right? But this is the foundation, folks. This is your foundation. If you can just, you know, Dr. Bruce Lipton, all of us are nothing more than 7 years repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And what Mark pointed out in the very past, our past is not done with us. And it's not. That's the ego, man. It every day, yesterday, it's unbelievable. The morning I had, and it was so phenomenal. It was like I was in heaven, literally in heaven. And man, it wasn't more than an hour and a half later on the way to the office, you know, this thought crept in, and then this thought crept in, and I, whoa, wait a minute. No. Well, I'm not interested. So this is a daily thing, right, Mark, for you too?
Oh,
right?
yeah. So like, and again, for me, action, because I've been in personal therapy myself, just traditional therapy. And then what, you know, these courses are, they're experiential, they're activities, and in it is so many learning experiences and how things show up. And so you mentioned the advanced course. So when I took the advanced course, there's one of the weekends we go to it's like a face your fear seminar. And one of the activities they have you do is they have you break a board. And I never broke a board before. And so they were explaining how you break boards, and it was pretty large room, a large group. So they set it up where you had two people go at a time. So I volunteered first, along with this woman who actually did it before. And then so she went first, and she did it before, and she wasn't able to do it then. So here I am in the front of the room, oh my God, she didn't do it. How am I going to do it? And so, but I set my intention, I do it, I broke it, and I felt so empowered. And this happened like this. So I take my board back to the seat. I'm feeling really good, high, empowered, getting high fives. I sit down and I look at the board, and literally my mind, I saw a knot in the wood, and my mind said, this board is weak. Because there's a knot. I had a weak board. And it's just, and I just noticed it. And I laughed just like you did, Fred. I laughed. I told people about it because, that I'm learning not to attach to that. It happens, and I detached from it. But it's just how quick these things can happen. And I would not have that if I didn't have that exercise and do that active work. So
right. Action. Tony Robbins all the time, right? It takes massive action. One of the things, the four emotions, right, that is a result of all this is the anger, sadness, fear, and shame. And when you look at your life, if you're angry, it's threatened value. When you're in sadness, that is because you've been complacent somewhere in your life and about your inside. You're not working. You're not believing who you really are as the original, as you came off of what I call the assembly line, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then fear, false education appearing real, false evidence appearing real. Like Mark looked at the knot in the wood, false evidence appearing real, but it appeared real, right? And then this shame thing, if we don't get sick of shame in our life, man, you've got to make shame when it comes up, that you're shameful because of where you are in your life. If you're shameful, that once that hits you, it's almost like complacency. If you feel any shame, how can you shame a product? If you're not comfortable with the word God, how can you shame a product of God? If you're not comfortable with shame a product of life, shame a product of your parent, whatever you want to go. But this anger, sadness, fear, and shame are those emotions. And the other thing that you talked about is this drama, right? This, one thing, we all look at children with their energy levels, right? We go, oh my gosh, if only I had their energy. The reason they have that energy is because of the law of momentum, right? Once you get moving, something in motion can stay in motion. And so drama, there's negative momentum and there's positive momentum. If you're broke, right, and if you're falling into those categories, you can't handle an emergency, and and you're broke, then let's just take finances, for example. That's what you've created with your energy, right? And so what do you get? You get more of it. So as soon as you think about, I can't afford it, as soon as you think about, I'm broke, or as soon as you think about, then you're going to get more of that same thing. That's why this idea of the secret, really is true. It manifests that same energy over and over again. Having your bank account low or having it high, got both those people. What got them there is the same thing. There's no magic, right? Energy got them there. Except the one that is low is that their energy is not, they keep getting the same thing. And the one who's got abundance is they just keep getting the same thing. And all the gurus, all the religious, all say the same thing, is that be still, get to know that inside out, and you'll overcome these things. So, Mark, that was powerful. So I want to turn it over to the group. Any questions of Mark? And by the way, the living course, Mark, the website is now, and I was so proud to
so it's the website is the Real, REAL courses, COURSES.com.
Yeah.
TheRealCourses.com. And REAL is an acronym for what we're about. We're about resiliency, empowerment, acceptance, and love. So those are the core areas that, as a result, resiliency is emotional resiliency. It's being able to step in and feel and learn from our emotions and step out of it and not get caught up in it. Empowerment, I think you all know empowerment. It's what Fred talks about. It's just being our powerful self. Acceptance, accepting of ourselves, about others, and love, unconditional love. So that's what REAL's about. And so it's therealcourses.com.
Guys, I'm going to tell you, I grew up on the streets. I was raised by a father that I never saw him shed one tear until the week he was dying. There's not anything I feared as a kid. Fear was not a part of my life. I wasn't allowed to allow fear to be a part of my life, or, it wouldn't go well for me. If I did not cry during our forgiveness project, Mark, my first meeting, our first living course that weekend, if I did not cry 2 buckets full of tears, not understanding the lack of forgiveness I had for myself, not just about anybody else. It was unbelievable, that experience. The other experience was the anger that I'm not an angry person because of a lot of my training and stuff, but not realize that this idea of the emotional incest, how much damage that did, from my mother, right? And again, she just repeated all the stuff she learned, and then that person, my grandparents repeated what they learned, and that's why I say the Forgiveness Project, the movie The Shack, that I always recommend to really understand forgiveness. But I'll tell you, folks, if you want to radically change your life, when is the course coming up, Mark? I'm volunteering this one finally.
July 15th through 17th.
15th through the 17th. It's a full weekend.
It's just a 25-hour weekend. We start Friday evening at 7, go to 11. Saturday's a full day. We start at 9, end at 8, and same on Sunday. Graduations ends at 8 o'clock on Sunday.
The price is what without
it's $975. But if you sign up by the 14th of this month, so I guess that's Saturday, it's $875.
And that includes the entire course, and it includes some food, right? There's some, I think.
I mean, we don't do dinner anymore because of the whole pandemic thing.
Yeah.
But we have a snack table. We have coffee, water throughout the weekend.
And what happens? You will be assigned anywhere from 3 to 5 angels, correct?
It's probably more like 3. So, and what angels are, to let everyone know, are people who've done the course. They come back to keep on their journey and to give back, to relate, to give back, to support the students on their weekend. It's
incredible, guys. I remember I had 4 angels. I never forget my first course, and when I met them, I went, "You got to be kidding me! What can they do for me?" After a couple of lunches together, and after really getting real, and they were not kind. Let me just put it like that.
It's called tough love.
It was incredible.
Tough love. Yeah.
But the night of, the heading toward the graduate, it was incredible, man. It was incredible, and I repeated it, and it just, I can't say enough. I hope that you look at it. If not July, the next one. I'm finally, I've been in since we came back and reestablished. My time has been so limited, but now I'm back in where I'll be there angeling this time and probably every time thereafter going forward. So, Mark, thank you, guys. Any questions of Mark?
Thank you.
Anybody want to share your from the chart we put up, the circle belief, and that where you've overcome a belief that is now helping you serve instead of being what is it? Let's see, going from the persecutor to your own challenger, going from your victim to a creator, going from the rescuer to a coach. Speak up. You got Mark.
Don't be shy.
I just have a question for you. I vaguely remember the course. There was like a part of the course where we explore the emotions, like crying, anger. Is that still part of the course?
Oh yeah, it's so we address the main emotions we address is the anger, sadness, fear, and shame. We do have glad there, by the way, and we don't want to kind of ignore that. But yeah, we do those. So we have exercises around that, and as a result of this, so what happens is when we allow ourselves to fully experience our emotions. I love to like snapshots between Friday and Sunday. I think the main thing that happens is we find our voice. We find our child's voice. We find the voice that we've been kind of burying and ignoring. And so, and having that emotional truth is very powerful. So yeah, we have all the exercises we did when you took the course.
Got it. Thank you.
Hey, Mark, you know, I want to say the couples that I've watched, a mother and son, that I'm now still friends with on Facebook, to watch the transformation. Here's a kid, you know, we don't want to talk about names, but it's amazing. When they walked in, I went, I don't think this kid, I don't know. I mean, I don't like where this is going. You know, I think he was going to fit in one of those statistics. I told you, the 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, it was a mom who had just been through hell. And then she had this son that really was sabotaging family, sabotaging self, sabotaging school, sabotage everything you can imagine. I can't even explain the transformation they had at the end of that weekend. And then watch them on Facebook, and still now, and where he is today, where she is today. And I mean, I can tell you 15 stories like that. So if you're married, if you're or in a real close relationship, significant other, and you want to really maximize that, let me tell you something, this experience as a couple, now it's not comfortable. I'm telling you right now. I took it with my adult son. It was not comfortable. It was not. It was very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, but there is, it's uncomfortable, but there's repair and healing. And so when you're talking about the kids acting out, that's a lot of that's revenge against parent.
Yeah.
And so when there's healing in the parent-child relationship, the child decides to put down acting out. Husband and wives, it's amazing to see what happens because you know, when the husband gets to see the little girl and the wife gets to see the little boy, it helps understand what the conflict's about. Like in marital conflict, it's really two kids acting out. And so when you get to see, oh, that's her little girl right now in pain, it takes the conflict out of the marriage, and vice versa. That's the little boy in his pain. It takes the conflict out of the marriage. So it depersonalizes, you know, each other against each other and creates compassion. So yeah, it's amazing.
The couple stories, and then watching the beauty of them, like you say, getting to know the real person, and I mean, some long-term marriages too. I mean, I was just blown away. Still blown away because I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook now. So anyway, guys, all right, cool. Anybody else? Speak up. It's the Real Courses with an S, right? Ro, did you have your hand up? Did you raise your hand, Ro? But by the way, you want to give them a preview of coming attractions for next week?
Oh, sure. Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm an NLP master practitioner and a hypnotherapist. And next week, I'm excited. I built a formula that helps you guys to get rid of anger, frustration, resentment, and just in general, relationship with people. Because I think Mark will agree. Usually, most of the time when we get angry or frustrated or sad, it involves another person.
You know,
Exactly.
I got to tell you, this is a personal, you're looking at two people that have personally been my therapist. I mean, Mark, do you have a therapist?
I'm in a men's group. I'm not in
An accountability group. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ro, do you have any a therapist?
And I have a coach myself.
Yeah. So here you go, folks.
Coaches too.
Yeah.
So exactly.
Who's going to see our blind spots? I cannot see my own blind spots.
Get your you know, Ro, let me tell you something. You know, we now have had what, 4 sessions, three or four. One thing she gave me was, I've repeated it over and over and over again.
Wow.
And I'm going to have you do that next week. I don't want to give it away. That one thing was incredible. One little practice. I mean, simple practice. And don't think she's showing up with a clock next week. I was disappointed. The first week I showed up, I thought she was going to put me to sleep and let me relax. Didn't do it. Second session, no watch. She didn't put me out. Third one, same thing. She made me, held me accountable. but she gave me one technique that is a form of hypnosis that when we talk about it next week, you won't believe how simple it is, but how effective it was. So, Ro, I'm going to make sure we get that one in there. I think you know what you're talking about.
Oh, I do. I'll put it in there.
And listen, bring your spouse next week, bring your guests. I try to encourage everybody today, you know, you should have your spouses on these things on Wednesdays, because, you know, this is all about being real, being, you know, as Frank McKinney, my good friend, would say, ride that ATV, folks. You notice how authentic that Mark was today, how transparent he was and how vulnerable he was, right? Authentic, transparent, and vulnerable. So with that, we got 5 more minutes. Who wants to be authentic besides us? Anyone? Anybody want to be transparent? Anybody want?
I'll open up, Fred.
Hey, Trisha, go.
You guys are really inspiring. Every Wednesday, as I can, you know, I pop in and out as our lovely group just allows for, you know, people to be in their place wherever they're at. And so as we disappear, work out whatever it is that we're working out, either it's professionally or personally or whatnot. And then when we come back in, the thing that I love about this group is there's no judgment. There's no questions. There's no, where you been? What's going on? Listen, I'm too busy to go into that. That's past. And then Mark's like, but you are a product of your past. You know, you are a product of your past. You are a product of your past. You will keep repeating until you learn the lesson that you need to learn from your past. But the thing that stood out to me in this hour that I listened in a different way, because in a different way, like I'm evolving too, right? And this is awesome because we should evolve in life. And as a rescuer who does go in and rescue people, and I love being a teacher. I love teaching about real estate. I love, like, you have no idea, it fills my heart, and it is not financially motivated, but this is one of my problems, is I love giving with no expectation in return. And the thing is that I've learned, and I'm going to say it's been in this recent time period, this last 6 months, 9 months, whatever, since last summer, there's a natural equation in life. And this is how I'm perceiving it right now. This natural equation means that, yes, you can be a giver. I learned that from my mom. It is the, oh, what was that called? The one who is the saint who just gives without no expectation, except what is that other side of the equation that she gets when she gives? She gets the right to guilt. I'm not saying anything bad about my mom. I love my mom. I love my dad, all of that stuff. We get what we get. We chose our mission in life, whether we know it or not. That's how I've accepted to believe it. Like, I chose the complications that I have to overcome. So that equation now I'm realizing goes, okay, and I feel guilty about, like, I don't like to manipulate. because I see it as manipulation. And I'm just being transparent to go, okay, so then I go to the other extreme where I'm so transparent. I make sure I do my due diligence as an accountant, and I go, and here's the facts. And the facts miss the human side of things. But there's this balance that in my current overcome is to say, which prompted me to go, I don't want to be a coach. Okay. I know I go from rescuer, and I'm really good at rescuing other people. I'm really good at, I have a bunch of initials behind my name because I over-evaluate, I over-analyze, anything. You just fill in the blank. If I'm interested in it, I'm going to overdo it.
Yeah, you're compensating for something. You're overcompensating.
So last summer, when everybody has these moments and whatever, like I was at my end, and it happened one other time, and I'm like, I learned how to jump out of a plane. I don't care, but I chose the safest thing to say I don't care, and it gave me a power to say, no fear. I don't care if I die. No fear. But do you know what I got in return? I got courage. Like, you have no idea. Like, literally, my spirit now, I know this in myself, whether anybody does or not. Like, they might see me as a kitten, and I don't care. I'm a lion. And I'm not just a queen. Listen, I have no gender. I'm a fucking lion. And I loved, Mark, when you said you saw that board and you saw not, because you saw your opportunity to go get what it is that you wanted to accomplish right there. And I just had that conversation with my 18-year-old who's graduating this week. Today's her last day. I'm over it. I'm over. Like, go. But I said, you need to know. She's my compliant one. You need to know, do not wait for somebody to hand you the goddamn car. I told you there's a car available to you, but you need to go fill in the blank. You figure it out to show initiative. Do you know what that spoke to me, Trisha? If you want something more in life, you don't wait for him to show up at your doorstep. When you recognize the trait in somebody else, you call it out, you tell them. So you know what I did during this meeting? Like, I would like some love too. Who doesn't want their partner to go run with, right? I can go do this on my own. I've done it on my own long enough. And if that's by the grace of God, what I'm supposed to go through and what I'm going to say, suffer through, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of being single. I am. I'm taking trips. I'm going to go enjoy, because I have sufficiency. Yay. Thank God. Last summer, I didn't have sufficiency, but I do today. Now, tomorrow, I might be a ball and mess in this moment.
No, Trisha,
I want to go find somebody to go to these things. I want my dates to be health seminars.
hey, Trisha, tomorrow you will be, right? It's just the way the ego works. But you keep doing what you're doing now, girl. And you just keep showing up, right? And I just posted someone asked about the slides. I didn't post them. They're in there now. And then I posted the website. It's a link to the website. Trisha, I would love to be there for your course while you're at the course. If you can't make July, definitely make the next one.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that, based on what you said, Trisha, so boundaries is something we also work on over the weekend. It's a learning. So when we get to know our truth, and we don't have to shut people out and put walls up with people, but we can have boundaries. We can let people in based on our truth and give what we want to give and not have to give, and all that isolation comes from having to do this and having to be these things for others, and it's training. So boundaries are, one thing we work on over the weekend too. So
Flip,
thank
you're
you for
muted.
sharing that.
You're
So
muted.
you're telling me that of everything, because I'm like, no, I don't feel like crying. No, I don't feel like going into all that deep stuff right now. So you're telling me the takeaway that is right now, what's in it for me right now, is that weekend I will take away better boundaries.
Part of the weekend,
Oh my
part of
gosh.
many other things, but as I was hearing you, and you're up to great things, it's just I was kind of hearing that, boundaries. Sometimes there's aspects of the weekend that are more important than to where we're at than others. So that's kind of what was coming up for me.
Cool. Well,
Thank you
thanks for that
sharing
feedback.
Yeah,
No, that
thanks for sharing
feedback
that.
is important, because I know the things that I say, those of you who are trained, you're like, you can already go, I bet, because there are patterns that people have, right? That we might have not the same story, but we've got similar experiences that we can relate. So
Yeah, and
great.
if anyone has teenage children, I would say mark 14 and up, because there's also a children's course too. But if you come with
we
them,
had like a 16-year-old last course, so we're
it's
depends on
impactful.
how mature and what's going on and stuff like that. Yeah.
So
All
you
right.
think I should bring, like, okay, my son's not a problem child, but he clearly has issues with me. Like, my daughter had to call him and text him a bazillion times to say, it's Mother's Day. You're going to call your mom. You're going to call your mom. You're going to call your mom. You're going to call your mom.
Yeah.
Trisha,
Well,
I will tell you right now, I took my adult son. I thought I had issues with him. It was all my issues.
Mhm.
And you'll discover that.
Mhm.
You'll discover that. I mean,
And if anyone wants to reach out to talk more and kind of share, ask questions, you can reach me it's Mark with the K at therealcourses.com. And just and thanks for having me, everyone. Appreciate it.
Mark,
Thank you, Fred.
thank you so much. All right. Anybody else? It's after party, right? 9:35. Who's taking over? Thank you, Mark.
All right. Thank you.